Hey everybody, Zee Garcia here, and today I'm taking a look at the iOS app implementation of Railroad Inc. Railroad Inc., the physical game, is a roll and write style game in which you are going to roll a few dice. Everyone will use the same dice to draw highways and railroads on their own little dry erase board, trying to connect different exits on the board, trying to cover specific places, trying to get victory points from a variety of things. And there are a lot of games in the series. There are a couple that came out originally, and then this was re-implemented with a few new rules in a newer release with, again, basically 2 core sets and a bunch of expansions. Most of that is not on the iOS implementation of the game. You've got the original game that you can play without those special abilities, sort of extra stuff, and then you can play one version with that the extra abilities. And then on the app, it shows some of the extra things, and they are coming soon, whatever that means. So that's not on there yet, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and break it down, tell you a little bit about the original game and how I feel about it, and then tell you what I think this app does well based on things like the graphics, the audio, AI stability, things like that. So starting with the original game itself, I think Railroad Inc. has some problems that I really struggle with. The main two being that the game has the propensity for getting really messy very quickly. The boards are not that large. Your marker that's included in the game is not as fine-tipped as I would like. And so you start to get really messy. You start to have, your illustrations sort of start to lose their shape and focus, and the whole thing starts to look quite messy. It bothers me, and you have to be careful with smudging and things like that. And then the other thing is that there's quite a bit to do on your turn, and it is hard to keep everything in your head while you are doing it. You need to sometimes draw 6 faces, die faces, maybe 7 die faces, and they are shared. So in the center of the table, meaning you cannot draw one and then set it aside and no longer look at it. The game attempts to give you an ability to sort of use a little shortcut across the top of your player board by marking things available and then sort of getting rid of them after you've used them. But if at any point you want to change your mind, you want to take anything back, it's going to become messy. It's going to become difficult. So there's a lot of sort of downtime in the game. The original game, I would probably say, is about a 6 for me. Okay, so now let's go ahead and switch the game here and look at the iOS implementation of this, which I've played several times. I've played live. You can go see me play this game live. And I've played solitaire, okay? I think it's a great implementation of the game, and I think it elevates the entire thing. So, looking at graphics first, I think the graphics here are excellent. The game is vibrant. It is very well done. The information that is needed is readily available. The only thing I have a problem with here when it comes to the graphics is that the railroad track, as per the dice, is basically one line with a bunch of little hashtags across it. That's what the dice look like in the game. Once you put that into the implementation of your board and the game transposes it so that it is, you've moved on to the next round, it sort of, lays that one down and keeps it there, and then turns that graphical representation of a railroad track into a much more realistic railroad track with 2 lines and the beams across. The reason they're doing that is because the original dice in the game and the way you as a player would draw a railroad track was a single line and a bunch of hashtags across it because it's too hard, it's too cramped to make it look realistic. I think they should have changed the way the dice look because there are no dice. It's not tangible. They should have made the railroad tracks not switch looks, or have, either don't put the realistic one on the board or just change it on the die faces. Because if you're looking at it, you're going to sort of see that they don't match. So that's a little bit of a nitpicky thing, but it's unfortunate. Other than that, the game is a stunning looking game. It looks modern. It looks tremendous. The sound, I think, is very good as well. And I would give it a 4 out of 5. The sound is very melodic. There's a lot of sort of nature sounds and that sort of thing. And there's a couple of moments of clashing ideas between the blast of a factory and the sort of, the interruption of a train with the very relaxing kind of sounds of this ethereal garden sort of vibe. So I think those two things can sometimes be a little bit at odds. Generally speaking, the game sounds quite nice. Next up, AI and stability. The game, I haven't seen any problems with it. There's a lot to keep track of that the game manages to do very well. The game feels very stable. It is helpful. At no point did I have a problem sort of figuring out where I could touch something to get the information I wanted to look at that given moment. And that is wonderful. That means the user interface has been thought about, it has been implemented correctly, and it will, without holding your hand, guide you to what you want to do. With a couple of then flourishes on top of that, which is always appreciated. So I had no problem with that. As far as the AI goes, you're playing solitaire here, so there's no opponent. But there's a lot that they put in there. They put in goals that you can achieve. The extra versions are supposed to be coming, as I said. There are different goals that you might pull when you are setting up the game, and you can go online and play that way as well. I wasn't able to test that out, but it looks robust. So the entire thing seems to open to offer quite a bit to a single player experiencing this game. And it seems to have the legs to keep you busy for a long time. So great there. Lastly, ease of play. Again, it's very good. Like I said, it manages to give you exactly what you need and tell you what you want to know without getting in your way, without tripping you up at any given moment. The way they explain scoring at the end and go through it step by step and show it to you and then keep it on the screen so you can see what happened, what you did, what you didn't do. Fantastic. So overall, in my opinion, I think the iOS implementation, the app version of Railroad Inc. blows away the physical implementation. I really do. It is much more of a pleasure for me to play this on an iOS, on an iPad or a phone, I guess, something like that. I did play on an iPad. I just think it's tremendous. It is fun. It doesn't make me deal with things I'd rather not have to deal with. I never forget my place. I can still take things back and change my mind, but it never sort of lets me mess up. And I think it's just a wonderful, wonderful representation of how you can take a game that perhaps has some sort of limitations when it comes to physically playing that game and makes it into something even greater because you take away the annoying parts a player might have to deal with. So for me, again, like I said, this is way better than the physical game. I'm going to give the iOS app implementation of Railroad Inc. a 9 out of 10. And that's without getting into a game online. That's without the extra content that hopefully is coming soon. Without all of those things, this game is a pleasure to explore, a pleasure to play. You want to keep playing and see if you can do better. It's fantastic. So there you go. I heartily recommend this one. 9 out of 10 from me for the Railroad Inc. app. And that's going to do it. Everybody go out and get this game. Give it a go. I think you're going to have a great time with it. So my name is Zee Garcia. Thanks very much for watching this. I will see you on the next one.